question is going to go to Vince, and then we're going to travel down the panel, so try and remember the question. Tell us about your firm and or your organization that you're currently with, and are you considered public, industry, or another? And what role do you currently participate in this firm? And tell us about a fascinating fact about the role you currently are in.
I will be as quick as possible, try to remember as much of that as I can. If I don't get anything and you really want to know the answer to the question, see me after the program. Well, when I was invited to this, I think is how I should start this, because I actually left the firm that I was with this past Tuesday. I was the Chief Operating Officer of a company called Carolina Complete Health Network. Carolina Complete Health Network, I helped launch the company back in July of 2016, and it is a Medicaid healthcare provider network, and it is part of the North Carolina Medicaid transformation that is taking place. So I hit most of your questions thus far.
So is this considered a public, industry, or other?
Okay, this would other. This would be an industry, though I will say it is an SEC registrant, so it does have public shareholders.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I am Michelle Davis, and I work for the North Carolina Department of Revenue. If you're asking, yes, that Department of Revenue. I am a revenue field auditor. I go visit businesses and audit their books for state tax compliance. I do that to make sure that everybody's tax dollars are fairly and partially enforced. It is not fair to you if I don't enforce it on everybody else. And we take our jobs very seriously. We consider ourselves servants. And that is one of the reasons why I'm here today, is because I've always considered myself a servant. Our secretary considers himself a servant leader. Those are people that I love to emulate. People who make sure that you take care of everybody else. We're definitely other. We're not public, we're not industry. And we're proud of it. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Sheldon Fox, and for the record, Chuck sort of skipped over announcing a lot of degrees, but I have a degree from the Darkblue University in Durham. Sorry about that. Please. And just for the record, since Michelle was before me, Michelle, I did send your department a lot of money last year. So our firm, KBI Capital Partners, we're a money management firm. We invest in publicly traded stocks. A lot of big public companies that you would know, companies like Google, like Home Depot, like Microsoft. And so we manage about $300 million for mostly high net worth successful business owners, which in our industry, in money management, that's actually a very small firm. We have 5.5 employees, but it's a lot of money, $300 million. And so and I used my prior experience in public accounting and then corporate accounting to do what I've now done for the last 15 years. I think the really interesting fact is, if you think about the two primary career paths in financial accounting, you've got assurance and auditors, and they verify and test financial statements. And then you've got the corporate side, and they prepare financial statements. And what I do every day is I read financial statements. I read income statements, I read balance sheets, and I really read cash flow statements. So that's, I'd say that's probably the most interesting thing I can share.
Hi, I'm Samantha Brennan-Lisco, and of course I work with Lisa. I'm an internal auditor. We are definitely other. And I do IT audits. I audit SQL code, which is SQL code, and I use data analytics to make sure that the raw data matches what's on federal forms. And I think one of the most interesting things that I do is making sure that programmers, when they're choosing to extract data from the data sets, is extracting the correct information, like the correct dates from the correct tables and things like that. And you can delve with some pretty lengthy code that's like 12 pages long, so you can kind of get lost in it.
Hi, I'm Israel Bitbull. Until last week, I worked for BDO for almost 6 years, yes, including internship. My focus was audit. I was doing a lot of audit in a lot of different areas, from non-for-profit, for-profit. I think cool thing about working for public accounting firm is that you get to see so many things. Like every year you basically audit about 6-7 companies depending on the size. So you get to see different way to make money, different way to service, a lot of university, a lot of hospitals, and this is where the compliance part goes to what you talked about, looking to make sure that all the public money goes to the right way and people get what they do. I think what I enjoy the most is the student financial aid piece in the university, because this is really the oxygen that gives students the ability and the money and the resources that they need to be able to complete their education. So.
How's it going, guys? I'm Dan Lavelle, Audit Senior Manager at Williams Overman Pierce. We are a public accounting firm that focuses on audit, tax, and advisory. I myself have various clients in technology, publication, certification. I do some churches. We do some state universities here in the area, so a little bit of everything. 6 or 7 audits. I wish I worked on 6 or 7 audits a year, but at a smaller firm, I'm right now I probably about 15 audits going on at once that I oversee as a senior manager. And there's a 4:30 deadline, so things are a little crazy. The banks, one of the things why the smaller firms kind of do those audits is for the banks. If they lend any money out to some of these smaller private companies, they want to make sure that it's been audited by someone independent of the bank, the organization who kind of took the money. So 4:30 is always 120 days after year end is a very big deadline for us. So, and actually we are a BDO Alliance firm, which I can get in a little bit later as to kind of why I went from public to private, but we are a BDO Alliance firm, which is pretty cool. So we've actually worked on some mutual clients together as well, which didn't get to run into each other, but we have at least worked on some of the same things. Which is pretty cool considering I'm at a regional small firm, and obviously BDO probably being 5th largest, I think, in the world. So pretty cool that we've been able to kind of work on some of the same things, even being a smaller firm like I am.
All right, I'm Jonathan. I'm at Cherry Beckert, so we're a mid-sized accounting firm. So public is where we stand. And just to clarify, because I don't know if everyone knows, my wife doesn't even know what I do. So like public accounting is when, and I'm on the audit side for the most part. But public accounting is when the clients hire us. And so when you hear Lisa and Michelle, and they're going after people. In us, the clients are like, come after us and we'll pay you. And that's what we do. Okay? So, that's public accounting for you. So anyway, I'm on the audit side. I get to do, I think, some pretty cool stuff. I have very, very little client base. I have 2 clients. And they're like related to each other, so it's not even, it's a very small part of my day job. Most of my job, I get to oversee a lot of the firm's innovation efforts, and so anything new that is coming down the pipeline, typically dealing with technology or process, is going to come through me at some point. And so in terms of just interesting things, a lot of my job is just kind of a laboratory of sorts. It's just trying to frustrate our folks, like, hey, try this new thing, it's very expensive, and then it's not going to work, and then we try to do a new thing, and that's essentially my job. And every once in a while it hits, and it's really cool to see it kind of blow up, and you get to have a really neat firm-wide effect. So that's my job.
Hi, my name is Emily Wilkes. I am the tax person here. I'm at James A. Lucas and Company in public accounting. I'm a senior tax accountant, so what that means is I do a little bit of everything. I do preparation standpoint and review standpoint of anything from financial statements to tax returns, all sorts of tax returns, payroll tax returns, property tax listings, corporate, individuals, trusts, estates, so on and so on. that I'll get a little bit more into when I talk about the smaller firm atmosphere. As a senior accountant, your role is kind of to be the first point of contact with the client, so lots of client interaction. And one of the most fascinating things about my job is every client is different, every day is different. It's a big puzzle that I enjoy solving.
Thank you. So Jonathan, you talked about the technology aspect of things, and we were just curious as to how has it changed since you started? So is data analytics playing a role in public accounting for you? And if so, how?
Sure. Yeah, and Lisa got to touch on a lot of this really well, and they probably do, like on the IT side, what data analytics means is probably different than the way that we express it on the public accounting side. So for us, honestly, it means a lot of different things, and so it really depends who you ask. And so if you look at just the auditing standards, there's no term data analytics. But the fact is, in a public accounting firm, we have so much data. And so when we get all of our clients' data, essentially, we have to figure out a way to sift through all that to see if it's legitimately accurate and if the financial statements are reliable. In terms of how it's changed, my first audit client at Cherry Bekaert was right here at the city of Durham. And, or it was Durham County, and then the city of Durham right across the street was my second client. And this one, when we asked for their general ledger, they said, yeah, it's right upstairs on the 13th floor. And then they sat me down at this big machine with like a weird monitor, but it wasn't like an electronic monitor. It was a microfiche machine. You guys know what that is?
Yeah.
All right, so anyway, you shouldn't. And so anyway, that was a lot of data on a microfiche machine. I'm like, oh, it looks good to me. And that was me doing data analytics back then. It's morphed considerably. So we deal with a lot of data, trying to figure out how it's going to tell a story. What's really neat is the tools have really matured. I would say in the past 2-3 years, it's exploded. Data analytics in general has been around in auditing since the beginning. And we've had really cool computer-aided data analytic tools for years and years and years. But just now, I feel like it's becoming so easy to use for the general accountant that the expectation of our clients is that we're doing some stuff with not just data analytics, but using some types of visualizations and putting it into really easy stories to understand and using some artificial intelligence to figure out patterns that maybe the humans can't find on their own and really become advisors using their data. And that's become really, really cool. And so I've had a blast doing it. I will say the pressure for us is moving away from what story is the data telling us, because the tools are getting so good that clients can a lot of times just figure that out themselves. But it's invalidating the underlying data itself. And I know for any of us that work in large data sets, it's morphed away from, all right, what are the patterns in here? Because the tools are helping us do a lot of that, to say, can we rely on this data set? Are we analyzing the right data? And once we can get comfortable with that, then we can run it through the cool tools, and it can tell us some really neat stories, and we can kind of lead the client to make some better decisions. Technology is, in my opinion though, as far as how much it's changed, I've been in the profession for about 17 years. I will say it has changed considerably in the past 17 years, but none in the past 2 years. I would say it's caught its wind. And I think we're at the beginning of a huge ride. So please listen to what Lisa was saying today. All the certifications or CPA, whatever, I can kind of make arguments for all that, but be well versed. I think if you take away nothing else, learn. IT is the future, and looking at all this kind of stuff through the lens of a curious person, that's going to be where it all goes.
Thank you. So moving on, we're going to ask Samantha a question, and we would like to know, you have an interesting story on how data analytics helped you find out some really interesting information regarding a medical provider. Would you mind telling us about this story?
Sure. Now, there was a gentleman that was here earlier that was touching on the importance between data analytics and accounting. This is where this comes into play. So I was approached by a data scientist to look at some data and
Sorry.
to look at some data that had to do with hospitals. Now, a little bit of my background is I was working as an accountant for 15 years before I started working with Lisa as moving into auditing. and my specialty was behavioral health doctors. So when I'm looking at things that comes to billing, these are things that just click. So he had a huge background in statistics, data science, he was a programmer, so he wanted me to look at this data and have a different twist on it. So the first thing I noticed is there were some birth dates missing. Okay, so he's like, well, we just need to clean up the data. Well, to me, that's a red flag. You have an internal control problem because that is a primary identifier. You don't have a birth date, your claim's not getting paid in the first place. Okay? And he's like, no, it's not a big deal. We just need to look at this data because we need to understand why patients are being readmitted so we can lessen that. Well, you have claims you're not getting paid in the first place, so there's a problem. So I started exploring the data. It was a huge data set. One of the first things I noticed, there was over 9,000 adults in the children's department at this hospital. Now, in a hospital claim form, this kind of information goes on there. That's a red flag. You might have a claim that's not getting paid. Then I started looking at the data even more. 51% of the patients in the women's department were men. What the heck is men doing there? Then you got to the point where I started looking at neurology. Not one patient in neurology had a birth date. That means every single one of those claims never got paid. Okay? Well, then I started looking at patients that were being readmitted. There were about 5,000 patients that had passed away. 712 of them had been readmitted. To where? The morgue? So you had all this stuff. Now, if you're going in and auditing, these are things that would not have been able to have been easily found because this was a big data set that covered 80 hospitals. So you might only have one or two cases, and that's going to be small. But when you pull that into a program that's based on machine learning and it starts analyzing your programs, it starts analyzing your data and understanding it, now all of a sudden those patterns, those anomalies, everything starts popping out. And now you can say, this is why you have readmission problems, but by the way, you're not getting paid on these claims to begin with, and now let's see, can we solve all the problems instead of just focusing on one. But had I not had that background in accounting, we wouldn't have ever picked up on that because the data scientist never did.
So I'm going to move on, and I'm skipping one question. So Vince, I would like to know, do you think having a CPA license is important for someone that takes the industry path in accounting? So what are your views on the CPA at this point?
The correct answer to that is yes, right? Yes, I think that it is. If I could just dial back just 1 second, because I was thinking about this as Lisa was talking. And I just want to, I probably graduated from college 10 years before a lot of people were even born in this movement. But those things about an internship, I had an internship when I was going through college. Those things about taking computer classes, I was mentioning this to Sheldon. I actually graduated with a BS in accounting because I had things called Management Information Systems. I learned C++. I had other types of computer classes as I was going through my accounting program. So as she was putting that up there, I said, geez, I look at my own little career, I can sort of tick those boxes as the thing. So I hope you took that to heart, what she was saying here this evening about those types of things. So I just wanted to reiterate that, Lisa, and what you've done. The answer to your question is yes, the CPA is valuable. Because one of the things you get to do, at least in North Carolina, you get to have Jonathan teach your ethics class. And so, because you need to have your 8 hours you have your 2 hours of ethics. But no, it is good to maintain that CPA because, as Sheldon mentioned, and you can take the mic back here, Megan, is that Sheldon reads financial statements for his business, for his job, for his work. If he doesn't know what the new accounting pronouncements are, how is he going to be able to stay up to date on those footnotes that he's reading in those financial statements? And the way you do that is with your continuing professional education, and having your continuing professional education by maintaining your CPA license is the way to do that. There you go.
So Michelle, on that same view, the CPA, what it means to you, and if you have one, how has it benefited you?
Specifically, how it has benefited me is it got me a door during the Great Recession. There's nothing like being laid off and nobody's hiring. But I had 3 letters after my name, and it got me an interview. After that, it was just clicking with what became the best manager of my life. There's no question to me, even in government, that has been valuable to me. I get a lot of kickback questions. Why do you need to be a CPA? There's so few CPAs at the department. There's no pay differential, by the way, the department for being a CPA. No, but there's that security that if I ever want to do anything else, I have those options. Additionally, it was always something I was very proud of, and darn if anybody's going to take it away. Also, one other thing that I wanted to say about being a CPA, and Lisa, maybe you just don't know this, I do not have a master's degree. I am a Wake Tech graduate, and I have a bachelor's degree. I have 150 credit hours, which are the requirements, and as was recommended to me, go ahead and get your master's degree. You know, that costs a lot of money. So know that there are options. There's definitely the traditional path, as Lisa said. A lot of people don't realize that you don't have to have that master's degree. You don't have to work under a CPA for a year. You can work in accounting for 4 years. I am the poster child. If it was the traditional path, I fought, ticked off the boxes and followed the rules and got those 3 letters right after my name. So yes, I definitely value it.
Can you pass the mic to Sheldon? And then Sheldon, I will pose the same question to you. Having the CPA license, how has it affected you, and do you think it has benefited your career?
Well, it's definitely benefited my career. I guess I have a slightly different take on it, and that is that, and in between my public accounting career and my current investment career, I spent 5 years as the chief financial officer for a public company, so the corporate side. And as the CFO, I probably had 50 to 60 people within the accounting and finance departments. And we only had 1 or 2 CPAs. So my take on it is the CPA credential itself, it's nice and valuable, but it's not critical on the corporate side. What is very valuable, though, is the experience that CPAs get in the public accounting world in that time. So I guess that I would put more value on the actual experience in public accounting, which can lead in so many different directions, including my direction, which is other. As opposed to the actual title. Title's valuable, title's worth money, but it's the experience from public that is valuable.
Thank you. So Israel, can you all hear me? Do I need a microphone?
You're fine.
Right. So Israel, not on those. It's the one she was wearing, yes. Israel, would you be able to tell us a little bit about the typical career path for someone in public accounting and auditing? So what avenue did you take to get where you are?
Okay, so actually I went to tech for 2 years, got my associate degree. After I finished that, I went to Ford's school. I went to Carolina. I got my bachelor degree, then I continued to a master. Got the CPA. I want to add just one thing about the CPA piece that I think that if you want to go to public accounting and you want to keep growing, you have to have your CPA. Otherwise, you're going to hit it to a senior level, and you see all the classmates keep growing, and you're just staying in the same position. And it's not nice to see that. The other piece in that is that everyone that have a CPA know what we had to do to take it. It was probably the hardest exam I ever took. I don't know if someone else thinks that another exam is other than CPA. So to me, to know that someone has a CPA is the time. There is a direct, sometimes any school, UNC, any school, there is not necessarily direct correlation to the time you put and the score you get. you know, some people are just born smart and just get in right away and just click for them from the first day and they just kind of take it easy and just kind of, you know, let go. But with the CPA, there is direct correlation between the time you put and the score you get. So I think it's really, you really need to sit and study to be able to pass the CPA. I think the passing rate is like 28 or 30% or something like that for the all 4 parts. Now for my direction, so I start as an intern, and one of the things that is important, you know, we're talking about internship. If you go to a 4-year school, most likely you'll be able to find an internship because the companies will come to you and they will, you know, if you are in a situation right now when you feel like you have to impress to be able to find a job and, you know, you need to convince them why you are the great candidate for them. When you're actually in college and you graduate, whether it's from the undergrad or the graduate, they kind of come to you and you just need to kind of pick. Like I felt like I was just like, I don't know, a commodity and everyone's trying to convince you, you would want to go to us, please. And even when you are working, you will have at least 20, 30 recruiters reach out to you every week trying to convince you why you need to get their job. And so, and I think the CPA kind of help you there with that. From a public accounting experience, so you start as an intern or staff 1, from work perspective, it's exactly the same thing. There is no difference between them. You do it between 2 to 3 years, and then you move to a senior, and then you do senior between 2 to 3 years, and then you move to a manager, and then from there, you basically depend on, you know, your relationship with the clients, if you are able to do business, to keep growing and moving. For me, after being in public accounting for 5 years, I was just about to make it to a manager. I just was too much. I love video. Video is probably the best decision I made in my life. I learned so much. I was able to see and experience different opportunities. I traveled to many places, learned so many things. But for me, I wasn't able to really spend quality time with my family. It was always, oh, I have a client, there is a deadline, oh, I need to travel next week. And I felt like I wasn't spending time with my kids. And I didn't want to make the mistake that my family made. And to me, you know, you made your great PowerPoint, and it was like, how much money do you think you make? How much money do you think you make? How much money do you think you make? I want you guys to take a step back and think about what you love. If you are good in what you do, if you love what you do, you're going to make money. Like you can be a plumber and make money. It's not about what you do, it's about if you love doing it. Because if you love doing it, you're going to do it from passion. I have friends that are partners, they're making over $300,000, but they are miserable. So it's not don't try to find the money will find you one day. You know, don't worry. Like if you're going to be in this career and if you're going to do everything you're supposed to do, you're going to make it to 6-figure. It might going to take a little bit longer than other people, but I don't think money will be an issue for you. And also, you know, we're talking about data analytics and all that stuff. In the end of the day, yes, I think that they are the future, but in the same, I don't think someone's going to replace an auditor or accountant, because in the end of the day, we have a brain and you have to think about a lot of things, and you know, you see different company making money, but they all do it in a different way, and every company has a different risk, and you can't just put it in the computer, oh, give me the risk, because it doesn't work that way. So I think that's kind of what is the thing that you learn in public accounting, that you kind of think through and you be able to explore things and also serve your client, because you know, you might learn something for this client, and then you have another client the month after that has the same situation. So you can actually add value to them and be like, oh, this is how you solve it. And it's like, oh my gosh, you know, especially with school that they don't have the funding. So being able to provide them that type of skill and be able to provide them that type of advice really help them, and they really value you.
You hand it all the way down. I'm going to skip you, sorry. Emily, can you tell us a little bit about tax? We've not heard very much about tax, so tell us what the career path into tax is.
So the career path with like intern, staff, senior, all the levels moving up is pretty much the same in tax as it is with audit. I've been in public accounting now for 3.5 years and am 98% certain that I'm going partner route. I could say I'm 100% certain right now because I know that that's what I want, but of course things change. One thing about the firm that I'm with is that my mom is a partner there. And so I made the decision to go into public accounting, but I started a larger firm, and I didn't expect to ever actually go and work for her. But everyone talks about public accounting, you know, all the hours and having a family and all that. But I was able to see my mom make it work. And she never missed a dance recital, a dance competition. She went to the school fundraisers and all that was going on during tax season. And she would drive down to Greenville, South Carolina for a dance competition and drive back that night and head straight to work and work all night. So she just made it work for her. And she probably would not tell you that she was at everything, but I never remember her missing anything. And so I just think that seeing that had made me know that she could provide me a very happy life. She had a very successful career, and I want to do the same for my family one day. So the other thing with tax that's a little bit different than audit is obviously I stay in my office every day. Now I do go out and visit clients and I do talk to people in other offices, but I don't have the travel aspect. So I'm not out of town like you were, what did you say, 30 weeks a year? Yeah. I'm in the office, so I can go home at night and be with my family or go to dinner with my friends or whatever. I also know when I'm going to be busy. I have a strict busy season, and of course there are other times throughout the year where I'm busy and things come up. But for the most part, I know that, and my friends and family know, January through April, I'll see you after that. But I won't really see you then. So it's nice to kind of plan things around that time period.
Thank you. So the next question I'm going to direct to Michelle. How did Wake Tech help you prepare for where you are today? I mean, obviously you made the choice to come to Wake Tech. Why?
I came to Wake Tech because I can afford it.
Amen.
Yeah. I could pay for it in real time. I didn't have to take out any loans. That's the one degree that I will pay off my other loans this fall. But that degree came outright, no loans. Loved it. Still love it. I've actually, there have been times where people go, well, you have your CPA, you don't have to put Wake Tech on your resume. No thanks, I'll leave it on there. For me, it was a big confidence booster to have degrees. When I graduated from Wake Tech, I was 27. I had just survived a very debilitating car accident. And it was a major accomplishment for me to walk across the stage without any assistance. It is the one graduation I have been to. Because the other one was in a different time zone. So I brought everybody out for my graduation parties. I used my Wake Tech degrees as a launching platform. Neither of them were in accounting. One is science, one is general arts. They were the transfer programs to NC State or any of the other programs. And I told my husband that I wanted to become an accountant. And he looked at me and he said, "You just finished school. I really don't want to pay for that. How about you go work in accounting for a year and then tell me if you still want to do it?" So I took those 2 degrees, some managerial accounting experience from my first career in hospitality, and I went and found an accounting position in a corporate office for a North Carolina firm and did that for 5 years, working full-time and going to school full-time in the evening. And I knew that I could take online classes because the first online classes I took were at Wake Tech in 2002. Back when are you guys still using Blackboard?
Yes. Some things never ever do.
the job descriptions that I had over at Marriott didn't say accounting. So I made sure that I was highlighting everything that was accounting, and I managed to find a position at a firm where the accounting manager had a communications degree. And an MBA working for her. And those 5 years at corporate accounting were the basis for my CPA experience. The experience required for licensure for being a CPA. And then I went and worked in public accounting. And I was told I was crazy. And they were right. Public is for many people, it is not for me. But absolutely, the self-confidence that I got and being able to say, I've got this piece of paper. And that's the one that I first hung up on the wall. That's the one that's got a picture of my husband and I. It sits right above the chair where we read bedtime stories for my children. The other one's posted up there too, but it's kind of in the corner. So obviously I'm very, very proud of those groups.
Thank you. So, Dan, when Emily was talking, when Emily was talking, she touched about how she was in big corporate and went to smaller. It's been brought to our attention that you were in big corporate and have gone to smaller. And we would like to know how those differences have affected you, what you liked, what you didn't like, and so on and so forth.
So I started my career at KPMG, which is obviously one of the big four, and now at a small regional firm. I did go on the private side for 4 years, did some financial reporting, was a controller. So I'm one of the, I guess, the crazy ones who left public, went private, and then went back into public. Yeah, we're very rare. But the big firm, I mean, I loved KPMG, kind of, you know, to Israel's point, it's the best decision I made to start my career at KPMG. I mean, it was always pretty cool to see Phil Mickelson on Sundays, you know, playing, and there's a KPMG on the hat. It's a very well-recognized firm. I did travel. I audited Pfizer during my time. I went to Ireland probably about 7 or 8 weeks during about a 2-year stretch. So the opportunities, I mean, any company I named, again, I worked on Long Island at the time. You could hear it in the accent, I'm sure. But I worked for Computer Associates, Pfizer. There are just various firms or companies and organizations that are just world-renowned, which is all pretty cool to say. Now being at a smaller firm, again, where I'm at in life, the work-life balance is a lot better at a small regional firm, I would say, as compared to a KPMG. I don't think I worked a Sunday in 3.5 years at Williams, Wilmer & Pierce. I can tell you I worked a ton of Sundays at KPMG, and some of that's just due to time constraints and 60 days to file a 10K and things like that. But I really think it's preference, and again, at different periods of your life, things could be a little bit different. I think really who you work for, not necessarily big four or even small regional, is who you work for. A good manager, that first few years can literally dictate. I started with 30 people at KPMG as my starting class. Within, I think, a year and a half, we were down about 5 or 6. But the people that stayed had just a good manager, a good senior associate who would sit down and explain things to you, which things are moving so fast, there's not a lot of time. Sometimes it's just do what we did last year. But if you have someone that could sit down with you and explain those things and why we're doing it, and I just think that goes a long way. So both have their advantages, both have their disadvantages. Where I'm at in my life right now, I don't think I would probably do well at KPMG. I feel like the smaller regional firm at this point for me is kind of the way to go. I'm very happy. Probably a better opportunity for a partner role. If I was still at KPMG, the carrot would probably still be dangling in front of me. We're at a small regional firm. I'm a senior manager. Probably in the next year or two, I have a very good chance to become a partner. It's getting a lot harder at the bigger firms for that to happen, just because things going on. Nobody wants to retire anymore. So I would just say both have their advantages and disadvantages. Definitely look at the culture. If you know anyone that's been at either a large or small regional firm, ask as many questions as you can. But there are differences, both good and bad. The pay, believe it or not, small regional firms pay pretty well. Again, I grabbed drinks with some of the guys that started the last few years, and you'd be pretty surprised how much they're making as compared to the Deloittes and PwCs of the world. Small regional firms still pay well, so if that's the concern is I'm not going to get paid well because I'm in a smaller firm. That is actually not the case. So.
Thank you. Do you have anything to add to that?
Sort of.
Oh, that's okay. Continue, no.
Okay, so I agree with just about everything Dan said. I will say that I think that there is sometimes a misconception that at a smaller firm you don't work as much. I probably work more, just gonna be honest. But I have more clients and more responsibility because I know I wanna go that partner route, so don't think that, at some smaller firms, it might be, 50-hour work weeks during tax season. That's not always the case. And I'd also like to say that if you know that you want to go small, don't go big first, because I went big because that's what I wanted. I wanted to go big. I wanted to be at Cherry Becker. I thought I was going to live and die at Cherry Becker. And just some things changed after I'd been there. I loved my experience.
You weren't gonna die.
I love Cherry Becker, and I wouldn't change that experience for the world. But transitioning from large to small is a difficult transition. It's very challenging because I had gotten to that sweet spot to where I really knew my clients, my coworkers, the processes, the technology, and I finally was feeling confident and comfortable in my work. And then I go and work at another firm and have to learn all new technology, all new processes, all new work relationship styles and manager, you have to, and relearning all these clients. So I would not go in with the attitude of going into a large firm thinking that you're going to use it as a stepping stool, because there's a lot that I learned at Cherry Becker that I do use in my day-to-day life, but then some of it I could have also learned just going straight into small, and that's not what I did, but I'm just saying if
Sheldon, you touched on how you were a CFO and now you are working as an analyst for them. Can you tell us how public accounting has helped you prepare for the industry you're currently in?
Yes, so I guess if you take the progression, the way I would connect the dots is, in public accounting, when you're doing audit and verifying and trying to attest to the financial statements, you can't do it without really understanding the underlying business. You can't do it just based on looking at numbers. You have to really get in, and I mentioned the varied experiences. When I was in audit, I audited a bank 1 month, audited a hog farm the next month, audited an international tobacco company. So I got a lot of varied experience, but I had to understand each one of those businesses. So then I went inside a company, and instead of verifying, the job really changed to keeping score of how we were doing as a company, reporting it externally to public investors, and then also trying to figure out ways to use the financial information to help make the company better, improve the company, provide the information to the people that were on the operating side, and let them use it to make the company better. So then the last step, back to the investment side, it's really back to the key being using the financial information to understand the company. Because now I'm putting client money to work and making a decision to buy Home Depot, and not Lowe's, Home Depot, and there's a reason for that. And I have to understand the company, I have to understand a lot about the company to make those kind of decisions with real money. So it comes back to that. I use the experiences, the different experiences in learning about how to evaluate companies. And now really my job is evaluate the business, how good a business it is, and what's the right price to pay for it.
Thank you. So that was the end of our question session. Do you have any of the ones from online or no?
Well, there was a couple of questions.
Well, I know Nicole was one of the persons that
Yeah,
said a question.
I think, why don't we go ahead and just take Nicole's questions?
So-
I'm having a hard time doing it.
Do you remember your question? Can you go ahead and ask the panel?
Well, I think one of the things I asked, and any of you guys can probably answer it, is what do you find most challenging about your roles? I know you guys come from various backgrounds. So what are some of the things that you find day to day that are very hard in your roles, and how do you overcome those obstacles?
Getting information from clients. Number one.
Yes.
Getting information from clients.
The right information that you ask for.
Yes. Very true.
I'll say for me, it's getting accountants to do new things. This is not something. Stereotypes are there for a reason many times, and a lot of the ones about accountants aren't true, but there's a lot of them that are very true. And being reluctant to change things is certainly one of them. And so when you're introducing new technologies, I mean, you're just talking about changing firms, it's difficult. Getting an existing firm to change its own processes is quite challenging too. So the college mentality is so good because you're used to learning new things all the time. Keep it. Keep that in your head for the rest of your career, and you'll do quite well.
I think for me it's the work-life balance. My firm, actually BDO is one of the best public accounting firms with work-life balance. You probably can envision it. It's just, I wasn't able to do it. I have 2 boys, and I had a great relationship with my clients. It was a relationship that goes for like 4 or 5 years, and you constantly want to help them. At the same time, you kind of forget that, you know, the family. And I'm not mean that, like, you are with your family, yeah, so I didn't miss any of my kids' thing that they did, but I wasn't really present because I was always thinking about something else, and I'll get an email and the partner asks me, oh, what's going on, where is the deadline? So all the stuff is kind of like, I want to be present, I want to be involved, I want my kids to ask me something, and I'm like, actually, oh, what did you say, and all that stuff. So it was more to me rather than to my phones. I could totally control my schedule, especially as you grow in public accounting, you can totally control your schedule, literally. Like I'm originally from Israel. I got to work from Israel once a year for all months. No issue, work from home whenever I want to. But I think for me personally, being able to really, when I'm with my family, just be with the family and be present, and it wasn't something that I was able to do, so that's why I kind of like decided, okay, maybe I need to look at something else where, like, you know, 6 o'clock, whatever, 7 o'clock, 9 o'clock, I can shut down, move, and just be present with my family. So for me, that was it.
One of the things that you have to be prepared for in government is bureaucracy. Not North Carolina? No. Or North Carolina. I have a certain tolerance level for it, having grown up with the background that I've had, where Dad was government contractor and we lived and breathed by the BRAC commissions and where the military bases were along those lines. But still, when you get there, and some people are saying, but it's always worked that way, why do we need to change it? I've had that in the corporate sector as well. I no longer work for that company, and I'm an auditor now. I like that much better. Because that was the owner of the business, and it was a question at that point of something where it was eventually going to misstate on his financial statements. The other thing that I find frustrating, please don't lie to your tax auditors. I'll make you live with it. Meaning, I'll figure out the lie, but you're still going to have to live with the story that you told me. And I'll assess you for the difference. Just don't lie. If you're upfront with me to begin with, you're probably at that point got good intentions. But yes, I have been lied to and then read indictments later. It can be very interesting. Bureaucracy.
So I have one question, actually. When you graduated and you got your respective CPAs and you were fresh and green, did you envision yourself where you are today?
Yes. Absolutely. I wanted to work for the government. I wanted to work for the IRS. Or the FBI.
No? No clue?
I'm not there yet. I'm still there. started public accounting, I wanted to be a partner literally until like 6 months ago, I was hard, I want to be a partner. But then when you have you only need one really bad busy season to really change your mind. And I was just like, you know what, maybe I will do CFO. So now I went private and we'll see where it goes. But I think it's very important for everyone, even now you're a student, you know, you need to make a decision. Where do you want to see yourself in 5 years? Do you guys want to have do you guys want to have 4 years degree? Do you want to be a CPA? So you need to start thinking about those stuff. You know, I talked about it class a couple of years ago. There are certain schools here, like for example UNC. If any of you want to go to UNC, you need to remember that there are certain credit hours that you are allowed to take. After that, they don't allow to take more than 6 credit hours. So there are certain you want to do some research. Start from zero. So think, okay, where do I want to be in 5 years? I want to be a CPA. Okay, what do I need to do to make it to a CPA? Do I want to go to UNC? Do I want to go to NC State? Do I just want to get the 150 credit hours? And kind of go through from there. But have a plan in mind. Don't just like go blind and, you know, whatever it's going to take me, it's going to take me. You're going to end up in a dead end. So kind of think where you want to be in 5 years. And do your research, reach out to a lot of people. Wake Tech have a great, even when I was there, they had a great career center, career services. I know UNC was a little bit, and I don't know if it's still the same way, they were a little bit snub about sharing information. They weren't coming every week like NC State. But if you want to find out, if you want to go to UNC, go reach out to someone. It's actually going to be good for you. Just because, and I'm using UNC, but it can be Duke, it can be NC State, it can be any. And the point for that is because, you know, you're reaching out, you're talking with someone, maybe even just go and visit a school, they will see your face. So then when you apply to the school, they'll be like, oh, wow, Israel, I remember this guy. And then they can make a face to their resume and it's giving you a little bit credit. So think about those stuff before you kind of just like, okay, I'm just going to take those classes, but I want to go to whatever.
So let me just add one slightly different perspective on that, and that is, yes, it's great to have a plan. I started in public accounting in 1982. It wasn't $50-something thousand at the time, $17,500. But I didn't have a plan. I really didn't think I would stay all that long, but I didn't have a plan. I ended up staying and becoming a partner in 16 years. So my take would be that as with an accounting degree, and especially with some advanced certifications, things like that, it's a stepping stone somewhere. As long as you can go work in something that's both fun, but also that you're constantly learning and developing new skills, it can lead a lot of different places. And I definitely never anticipated I'd be reading financial statements and buying stock in Google.
Are there any other questions anybody would like to ask? Go for it.
Did any of you guys ever hit a point in your accounting career where you realized where you were at is not where you wanted to be? And if so, what steps did you take? I mean,
And that's kind of the cool part of
like,
every
I
CPA.
guess specifically what I want to know is if like you chose to go into a public-based account, like so you chose audit and your entire education is based around audit, and then you get into it 5-10 years, you're like, I'm absolutely miserable. At what point, like, do you continue? Do you go and advance your education more, or you just take a risk on another job even though you might not be qualified? Like, how do you assess that when you are so specialized?
It's a great question. So I think for the cool part about being an accountant and CPA, you can do so many things. You know, you're talking about different things, there are probably another 20 beside those stuff that you can get out of it. So, and the cool part about every CPA is that you will constantly be reached out by a recruiter. CPA is it's a hot commodity. I probably get, while I was sitting here, I got like 2 emails from like recruiter, oh, listen, look at that, and you know, like, do you want to move to another country? Do you want to move that? And there are always opportunity. I wasn't playing to live video, I'll be honest with you. I was in Charleston, I was serving a client, great client, I think they're going to go public soon. And I was exhausted, I was tired, I was afraid I'm going to fall asleep, so I thought I would stop in a hotel, and again I got a call at like 7 p.m. from the recruiter, and I was like, you know what, I don't care what he said, I'm just going to talk with him. is gonna keep me awake until I get to Raleigh. So she started. That's the honest truth. She started talking with me, and oh, that sounds cool and all that stuff. And she started asking me questions and all that stuff. And I was just like, yeah, sure. A week after, I get a call from the CFO. He's in the UK, saying, "Listen, I'm gonna be in Raleigh. Are you interested to meet with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, of course." And then when during that time, you start spending time reading about the company, and then you guys, wow, that sounds really exciting. And I just I don't know, within a couple of days that I spent time doing research, I got so excited about that company. I was like, oh my gosh, I really want it. And 2 weeks after that, so actually it's funny because I had 2 people call me at the same drive. Within a week and a half, I got 2 offers on my end. So, and I just had to make a decision which company that I want to go to work with. So I think you have limitless possibilities. Like even we have people in our firm, in our office at BDO that didn't want to do audit and they moved to tax, and then they didn't want to do tax, they want to do advisory, they want to do IT, they just want to do like admin. Just like you have so many opportunities. So I wouldn't. You're not going to make any mistake with the accounting class. I think everyone needs to have some idea. And you know what? Even if you decide not to do accounting, at least you know how to manage your money, which I think is one of the biggest problems that we have here in the USA. People like to just borrow money thinking that they will never need to pay it off. So, being understanding how financial work, it's a key to be successful in your future life. It will help you make a better decision for your life and for your future. So I think it's a win-win situation.
I just want to add one other thing. I've tried to quit a couple times. I mean, if you go the public route, and I'm sure it's the same in government or industry, you'll be miserable. There are windows of misery throughout your career. Way normal. But there are a couple things. Recruiters is absolutely a great avenue, but it's a bit of a roll of the dice too, because you don't know the company that well. You're like, I hope this works, and then you get into it, and 6 months later, you're like, darn it, I'm going to go back into public, or whatever it is, right? And or sometimes it really hits your stride. What I would say is the recruiting has become a fantastic science right now. They're very good at their job, but at the same time, I want you to really respect the network that you're building here. With the groups that you're taking classes with throughout. I mean, the faculty here is phenomenal. I mean, I don't think, I mean, the passion they have for you guys to be successful, and they know a ton of people in the area. The folks that you're talking to today are across the hall, and the people that you're going to meet throughout your career, do not underestimate the power of that network, and always be respectful of it. This is one of the things, my mother has no idea what I do either. No one in my family really does. I barely know what I do. But, she taught me early on, I wanted to quit within a year. And so, because I got my whole thing was if I pass the CPA exam on the first shot, I'll stay in public for 2 years, I'll make senior. And so I'm a year in, and I did. So I got the little envelope, and it says congratulations. And there was a part of me that's like, crap, I guess I gotta really do this. And so it just wasn't, I wasn't like Michelle, who just knew it. I really struggled, and so I really didn't like the first couple of years. But, and I told my mom, I was like, I'm gonna quit now. She goes, don't. The network you're building now is gonna pay off dividends as you get more experience. And she couldn't have been more right. I'm so glad, I'm still with the same firm, and I'm so glad that she did that. And the network I do have now, we hired a few of them. In any job offers I have received, a couple of them have been recruiters pursuing, but a lot of them have been from the network that I built that have nothing to do with whatever niche I'm in. It's just they know, hey, that's Jonathan. I like that guy. He's real smart, and I want him to team up with us on these things. Issue is I really like what I'm doing now, so I'm not going anywhere, right? But there's a lot of avenues. Even if you're niched, if you've got a really, really strong network, those opportunities get bigger and bigger.
Anybody else? Oh, sure, go ahead.
So, like I said, I have like 15 years experience in accounting, but it was based off my 2-year degree. I ended up being involved in a fraud case. And I decided, I was like, I'm really kind of done with the accounting stuff. I want to move into something else. And when I got involved in that fraud case and started working with the FBI and other people, I was like, I want to get into forensic accounting. So my husband and I sat and talked about it. It's like, well, maybe you should go back to school and finish your bachelor's because I hadn't finished it. So I came here to Wake Tech and started taking a bunch of different classes, so I didn't have to take so many when I got to NC State. Had it not been for Megan McIntyre and Holly Markovich, I don't know if any of you guys had her as far as math classes, I wouldn't be in data analytics. They ignited the passion in statistics, and then when I got to NC State, I transferred that statistics into IT and data analytics. So had it not been for them, I wouldn't be sitting here doing this now.
Something very quick. I think if you guys thinking about getting a 4-year degree, get your associate degree before. You have no idea how important it is. I have a lot of friends that didn't want to get the full 2 years, so they had like, I don't know, 40 credit hours and whatever, and then they went and they had to sit and bring all their syllabi to try to convince the admission why they're supposed to get those credits, and they end up getting half of them canceled. So get your associate. That's where you'll be able to get all your credit in, and that's kind of one of the reasons that I went to Wake Tech. I didn't know a word in English, nothing. I learned English by watching Friends. I swear, like my first sentence in English was probably like, "Joey, like, how you doing?" That's how I kind of like, that was my line. And I came to this country, and going to Wake Tech, it was a confidence booster. Like people were really supporting me, and you don't get a big school. No one, it's not that they don't care about you. They just have 350 students they need to sit with and try to teach. But when you have those small classes, you really have a personal relationship with your professor. And then when I graduated, I was able to move all my credit. The other piece that is so important is usually the first 2 years. I didn't really experience it because I went to school later in my career. But the first 2 years of school, you kind of like, you want to experience the college, you want to go away from your parents, so your GPA is not so good. If you graduate from Wake Tech with your full degree as associate, you basically, when you go to college, you started from zero. And that's awesome, because you're kind of like, you're going as a junior, you're already kind of more mature than other students, and you kind of know, okay, I need to work on my GPA to be able to think about jobs. When you are, if you would go with, I don't know, with 40 credit hours, your GPA will count, and it might impact you when you're trying to find a job. So this is kind of the thing that you want to think through before you move it forward.